Welcome to the final episode of the Alchemist series. We have a series on the English Zone podcast, and this is the final part. The English Zone podcast is your place to practice and improve your English the easy way through fun and motivational content. So today's episode is about The Alchemist. I've been doing a series on the English Zone podcast about The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's a fun book. It's one of my favorite books. Today we are at the final part, and this part will make you think about your life. It will make you think that your journey is the journey of Santiago in his book. Right now in the story, Santiago is in a very sensitive spot. If you stick around, you're going to learn a lot about Santiago, what will happen in the end of the story, and whether or not he will achieve his treasure. He will achieve his goal. What is his goal, right? Because right now Santiago is at the Oasis in the desert, right? And he's thinking, well, he has already decided whether or not he should go after his treasure or stay there and marry Fatima, his love. If you listen to the previous episode on the English Zone podcast, you will know what the alchemist told Santiago and how he advised him or what he advised him to do. And that was episode 179 on the English Zone podcast. He basically showed him two different scenarios. One, what will happen if he followed his treasure, if he followed his dream, and what will happen if he stayed at the Oasis and marries his love, Fatima. And he told him straight up, he said, if you stay here, you will have safety and security, but never your treasure, never your personal goal, or you will never find your purpose. So he finally decides. He wakes up in the morning and goes to the tent where Fatima is staying. And he tells her everything. If you have not read the book, The Alchemist, or if you don't know much about the story, I'm going to summarize it for you here. This is actually something that he tells Fatima when he wakes up in the morning and goes to her. He goes to Fatima and he tells her everything and what he has decided. He says, I'm going away and I want you to know that I'm coming back. And then he says, I love you because... And then Fatima says, stop, don't say anything. Fatima interrupts him. She says, one is loved because one is loved. There is no reason for loving. Love is something that something that you don't force. But Santiago still wants to express his feelings. He wants to say what's in his heart. And so he basically summarized his whole journey, right? He summarized his journey to Fatima. He said, I was a shepherd. And like I said, if you have not read the story before, this is going to be a good summary about his journey so far. So he says, I was a shepherd who saw a dream, and I met with a king. I sold my sheep and crossed the sea. I lost all my money and lost all hope. But something kept pushing me toward the dream. I stayed and lived on a strange land. I sold crystal and made money. I crossed the desert and gained experience. And because the tribes declared war, I went to the well seeking the alchemist. So I love you because the entire universe conspired to help me find you. So basically he's saying my entire journey, all the steps that I've taken, all the things that have happened to me, good and bad, have led me to you. So that's why he is saying, I love you and I know that you are the love of my life. I know that you are the person that I want to marry. That's what he is trying to say to Fatima, and then he starts his journey. They say goodbye, but he tells her, hey, he says, I will come back for you and I will marry you. And now he's out in the desert. He's back to the desert on his journey towards his treasure. Where's the treasure? The treasure is supposedly in the pyramids of Egypt. He starts his journey with the alchemist. The alchemist himself accompanies him. He goes with him on his journey. So he takes off with the alchemist through the desert in the direction of the treasure. I want to describe the alchemist. He's kind of like a guide, right? He's there for Santiago. He answers his questions. But for the most part, he just wants to be a guide. He wants to be in the back seat and let Santiago figure stuff out on the way. But If he has a question, sometimes he answers his questions. But he's not like showing him everything. Even though he doesn't really talk much, Santiago knows that this man is different. He's not like the Englishman that was with him all the way till the Oasis. They were on the same journey, the Englishman and Santiago. They were together for a very long time. Let's pause here and talk a little bit about the Englishman. There was something strange about him because the Englishman was in search of the alchemist. He was the one in search of the alchemist, not Santiago. And he had read all the books about alchemy, how to turn metal into gold. And he had all the recipe for success. He had read all these books about how to turn metal into gold. And he's almost there. He's right about to find the alchemist, but he failed to find the alchemist at the Oasis. Why is that? Why is it that Santiago and the Englishman traveled together through the desert and stayed at the Oasis together? How is it that Santiago found the alchemist, but the Englishman, the one with all the knowledge and books, didn't? Why? Well, here's why. The Englishman relied only on books, only on information, only on the method to do such and such, how to do things, right? He spent years studying alchemy through books and trying to understand the secrets of the universe intellectually, right? He believed that if he read enough, he could force the answers to appear. But that's not how it works, right? Because when he reached the desert, he realized that books alone couldn't teach him the true language of the world. He needed experience. He didn't say that, but he kind of realized that, right? On the other hand, we have Santiago, who learned through experience and books, right? He didn't just rely on books. He didn't just study, right? He listened to the desert. He looked at nature. He observed nature, right? The sky and the omens. He listened to his intuition. He learned how to listen to his heart, and this is something that we're going to talk about, right? But the Englishman thought all of these were superstitions, like magic stuff. These are not real. And so the alchemist appeared to Santiago. Why? Because Santiago was ready to learn. He was ready to learn in a deeper way, not just from the superficial societal way of doing things and accomplishing things. If you read such and such, you will get such and such, because that's not how life works. Santiago wanted to learn not just from books, but from life itself. What is the key lesson here? What can we learn from this? We learn that there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is important, but wisdom is even more important, right? The Englishman had knowledge. He had facts from books, but he lacked wisdom. He lacked understanding through living. Santiago had both. He learned from books and from the world around him. He learned from people. He learned from experience and experimenting things, right? Because the universe, if you call it universe, but I call it God, God rewards action and faith, not just study, right? So that's why Santiago was chosen by the alchemist. That's why Santiago found the alchemist. He had faith and he enjoyed the journey. He enjoyed the process. He was not so fixated on achieving the goal, but he was focused on learning through the journey. The Englishman only read books, but Santiago read books and listened to life, right? And that's why the alchemist said, there's only one way to learn, and that is through action. The desert teaches that true wisdom comes from experience, not just reading. So, Santiago was ready to learn, and the alchemist was ready to teach him. And that reminds me of, there's a really powerful quote that says, when you are ready, the teacher will appear. When you are ready to learn, the teacher will appear. If you are truly ready to learn and improve your life, the teacher, the mentor, the coach, they will appear. If you are someone who is struggling with English, you want to take your English to the next level, you want to level up, and you're watching this video, this is not a coincidence. This is your sign that you need to click and sign up for a course with me if you are ready to improve your life situation. So that's why I really love that quote. If you're interested in taking a class with me, fill out the form I put in the description below, or shoot me a message on Instagram at @TheEnglishZone_. The first lesson that the alchemist wanted to teach Santiago was that he wanted to teach him how to listen to his heart, how to understand his heart and use his heart as a guide. Because he was trying to make him understand that if he just listened to his heart will tell him what to do, what not to do, because there's so much wisdom and intuition if you just listen to your heart. Your heart is not just emotions or making decisions based on emotions. They call it gut feelings or intuition, whatever you may call it. If you understand your heart, you will understand what you truly need to do, because your heart does not lie, or tells you how it is. The alchemist teaches Santiago that his heart is his guide. Even when he is afraid, it knows his deepest dreams, his deepest feelings. And by listening to it and understanding its fears and hopes, Santiago can find courage to follow his personal legend, to follow his dream or his treasure. And honestly, this is the book's main idea, the main theme. And what is the main theme or the main lesson we can take away from the book? Trusting yourself is as important as following signs from the universe. So having faith in what you want to accomplish and going after it is way more important than trying to depend on luck or waiting for a miracle to happen. No, trusting yourself and going out there and taking action. Of course, in addition to trusting yourself, life can be much, much easier when you have a guide, a mentor, a teacher who can teach you things that might take you a very long time for you to understand on your own. Because a teacher, a mentor, may have already studied that. And for example, if I've read a book that's taken me 6 months to finish, and I can teach you that book in 1 or 2 hours, then you will save 6 months, right? Of course, reading the book will be the best option, but this is when teachers and mentors can be really beneficial because they can save you a lot of time. Of course, you have to pay them, but that's an investment for your future. And you don't have to worry about all the, all the secret codes or whatever about how to do something. You just follow, you trust them, obviously, and you just follow what they tell you, and you will start seeing results. So again, if you're looking for English classes or you want to find a better job and to level up in your life, shoot me a message and I would love to coach you or help you improve your English skills. This is the thing. Like, sometimes having a mentor is extremely important, and that's why even though Santiago is becoming a mature young man, he still needs that mentorship, and that's why the alchemist is trying to help him, and he accompanies Santiago through the desert. He teaches him a lot of lessons and lets him learn other things by himself through his communication with the wind, with nature, the desert, the sun. There's a lot going on in the story, and he tries to help him understand that no matter what happens, everything is written by the same hand. So he needs to trust his intuition, but he also needs to believe in destiny and what's already maktub, what's already written. That's a word used in the story, written or maktub. They continue the journey, and 2 hours before reaching the Pyramid of Egypt, the alchemist and Santiago make a stop at a monastery. And in the back of the monastery, there's a kitchen. The monastery is like a worship place, and they make a stop there. Listen to this. This is really important. The alchemist they go back. This is also kind of like a stop that people make in the desert. They stop there and they go, there's a kitchen in the back, and they go to the back of the building. The alchemist brings a piece of lead and boils it in a pan. So a piece of metal, right? And then he pulls out something else from his pouch that's like, it's like silver. And he mixes it with the lead, with the metal, and they start becoming like a liquid. And then after the liquid cooled down, it was no longer lead. It had turned into gold. Wow, that's crazy. And so why did I say this is really important? Listen to this. Santiago asked the alchemist, he's like, will I learn that someday? Because he just watched the alchemist turn metal into gold. And he's like, whoa, that's awesome. So he's like, will I learn that one day? And he goes, the alchemist gives him an answer that all of us should learn something from. He said, it was my personal legend, not yours. Basically, this was my life goal, to become an alchemist, to turn metal into gold, not yours. What does this mean? This means that, everyone has a different purpose in life. You have a different purpose. I have a different purpose, right? The goal is to find our purpose, right? Not to do something that someone else is doing that makes him successful or makes him happy. Because what makes someone happy makes someone else miserable, right? I love teaching English. I love my career, but I would be miserable to be an engineer, or a doctor, even people think, oh, that makes them a lot of money, or they call those kind of careers a success, or that's the most important thing. Because everyone, like I said, everyone has a different purpose in life. And the alchemist's purpose, or his destiny, his personal legend, was to master alchemy. But Santiago's destiny was different. He had a different life purpose. And because the problem, what's sad is that many people just try to copy other people, like becoming rich or famous, or I don't know, just the things that society calls success. Everybody wants to be like everybody else. And why is that? Because they are afraid or lazy to go after their dreams. They are afraid to follow their own path and find their own purpose. But truly and honestly, true happiness comes from following your own path, following and trying to find your own purpose, not someone else's dream. Don't chase easy shortcuts or other people's dreams just to think that will make you happy, because it will not. Don't try to copy others or be like them. Find your own purpose and follow it with courage. Take a risk, because without risk, you will never grow. So just take a risk, do something that will make you happy, and that will also lead you towards your personal legend. And that's how you turn your life into gold. That's how you turn your effort into success. Because success is not a destination. It's in the effort that you take every single day. It's in the process that you go through to become stronger, to become better. But it's not some, dead end, because that would be boring. That sort of happiness is temporary. So the alchemist tries to teach him that he should not try to be like somebody else. And then he gives him a piece of the gold. And then the two say goodbye. The alchemist he continues his journey to go find his treasure. And the alchemist goes his way. And then Santiago continues the journey and he reaches the pyramids. He lets his heart guide him to where the treasure may be, obviously near the pyramids of Egypt. And obviously he's really, really emotional, after years and years of struggles and ups and downs, because he had a long journey, right? I don't know how many years, but his journey to find his treasure for a very long time. And so finally that he's here at the pyramids, he's really emotional. And he starts crying. His tears are hitting the sand. And his heart tells him something. He tells him something that the way he understands it is that, okay, you need to start digging here. The treasure is right here. So he starts digging. He starts digging, until he heard some footsteps. People were coming. Then he hears, hey, what are you doing here? Somebody asked. One of them asked. He didn't answer, right? Because he's like, I've been traveling for years and finally found my treasure. And these guys are telling me what I'm doing. So he's frightened to say why he's there or what he's doing. So they ask him again, hey, what are you hiding? And the guy is, Santiago is still digging in the ground, making a hole. And then one of the robbers, pulls Santiago out of the hole, and another man starts searching his pouch, the bag that he has, and he finds the gold, the piece of gold that the alchemist gave him. And this really scared Santiago. He got scared, and he's like, what are they going to do to me? So they started beating him up and forcing him to continue digging, because now they're like, oh my God, maybe there's something in here that he's hiding. So maybe there's more gold. So they make him dig and dig and dig and dig, and they start beating him up because they kept asking him, like, what are you looking for? He's like, nothing. So they started beating him so much that he almost passed out. He almost became unconscious because he didn't want to tell them what he was looking for. He wanted to hide what he was looking for. But then he remembered something. He remembered what the alchemist told him. He said, what good is money if you're about to die? So he's like, oh my God, like these guys are about to kill me, and I'm trying to hide what I'm looking for. So he's like, please, okay, fine. I'm looking for a treasure. And then he explains his whole journey, why he came here, how he got here. And then one robber says, this guy is stupid. Just leave him alone. Let him go. This guy is stupid because I also once dreamed of a treasure, but mine was buried somewhere far away in Spain by an old church under a sycamore tree. And so, but I'm not that stupid like this man to travel all the way through the desert just because I saw a dream. So he's like, this guy is just delusional. Just let him go. But then Santiago realizes something. He realizes, oh my God, the sycamore tree, the old church where I spent so many nights in that church. And then he realizes that was his treasure, but he had to come all the way to find his treasure in Spain. So he realizes that the treasure was never at the pyramids, and that the robber's dream was actually about Santiago's own home in Spain, in Andalusia, where the treasure was buried all along. Why does this matter, or why is this so important? Well, because, first of all, the journey was the treasure, right? This is one. Santiago thought the goal was the gold, but the real treasure was everything that he learned on the way. Courage, love, wisdom, all the people he met. The treasure was the journey and all the lessons that he learned on the way. And honestly, what's so interesting is that sometimes the answer is where you started. But life sends you far, far away only to show you what you needed was inside you all along. But obviously, you need to go all around the world only to find that, because you don't have the wisdom to see the treasure right there within you. You have to go, have all the experience, read all the books, only to come back and realize that the treasure was with you the whole time. Because a lot of times it's not knowledge, but it's wisdom, the thing that's already within you, but you're just blind to it, which is really interesting. And that's when knowledge comes in and tries to help you uncover the blindness to make you understand your own strength, what you're good at, what you're capable of, right? The robber ignored his dream, but Santiago followed his treasure. He followed his dream, and that's how he found it. He became rich not only in money, but in spirit. So the key lesson here is that you should never, ever give up on your dreams, even if people laugh at you. I mean, think about it. This guy traveled all the way to the pyramids of Egypt. Imagine if he told all his friends, hey, I'm going to the pyramids of Egypt to find some treasure. They would laugh at him, right? How many times have people laughed at you when you started doing something, or when you wanted to start a project, or start a business, or start a new journey in your life? Even books, like just tell one of your friends, I'm going to start reading books. They'd be like, what? Why? That's silly. Because a few years ago, when I started posting video lessons for English learners on TikTok, some friends were like, what? TikTok? TikTok is for kids. Bro, you have no idea. But see, the point is, sometimes people laugh at you, but that's why you need to ignore what people say first, and second, don't share your personal life or your plans with people, because they will talk you out of it. And the second lesson is that the treasure isn't always gold. It's not always money. It's who you become by chasing what you want. Who you become throughout the journey, not what you will end up achieving. Because again, the treasure is the journey. Another advice is to not ever chase end goals. Don't try to chase just one goal and say, oh, if this happens, I will finally be happy. Because your life purpose has no end. It's a never-ending cycle of becoming. And so that's how Santiago, Santiago goes back to Spain. He digs his treasure. He finds all the gold, and then he tells Fatima. Of course, he doesn't text Fatima, but he's like, Fatima, I'm coming. And he goes back to Fatima and marries her, and I don't know what else they will do, but that's the end of the book. But one of the key takeaways from this book is that, and one of the most famous quotes in the book is that the universe always conspires to help the dreamer. If you try to follow your life's purpose, God will always help you find a way to achieve it if you have faith. And that's why you need to understand that what's written for you will always be yours. And sometimes you have to go through so many things to get to that thing, because the dots are always connecting. You think you're going through a bad period in your life, but you have to understand that that's just part of God's plan. Because every confusion in your life, every mistake in your life, every failure, they will all lead you to a place to make you realize how they were part of the plan. They were all part of the plan, and how they guided your growth. But you just have to pay attention, because the shepherd who had no experience in the beginning of the book, who left home, would never be able to appreciate the treasure that he found in the end of the book, right? But the man who became who he became, the man who survived the desert, he crossed the desert, he went through so many difficult moments, but he also really learned a lot and enjoyed the journey. That man would appreciate his treasure, because now he knows this is his hard-earned treasure. He deserves it, right? And this is how you need to look at life. You should not look at easy ways and shortcuts and quick fixes. You need to work hard and work smart in a way that you know you deserved it. When you achieve it, you know that you deserved it. Maybe right now you feel like you are Santiago in the desert, right? You are not sure why you're struggling with your English, with your job, right? Or you have career challenges. Maybe you just lost your job. You're going through some difficult periods. Just understand that you are exactly where you are because of all the steps that you have taken in the past. And you are where you need to be. But one day you will look back and realize how everything happened for a reason. And suddenly you will connect all the dots. All these difficult moments were part of your personal legend, your life's purpose. They were your destiny manifesting, your fate materializing, and they were your courage and patience being tested real time and the moment. So there's so many takeaways from this book, and I highly, highly recommend that you read it by yourself. This was actually the book that really made me fall in love with reading. Many years later, I've read it 3-4 times, and it's one of my favorite books. It will teach you that all of our stories are very similar. We're just trying to find our purpose, right? I hope that you learned a lot from today's episode on the English Zone podcast about The Alchemist, the final part of Santiago's journey. Check out the description below. I'll put the playlist in the description below where you can go back and listen to the whole thing from part 1. And if you like this episode, please share it with your friends and leave a comment below about your favorite part.